Our greatest successes in life are often found in helping others succeed. Welcome to the Life Masters Podcast, hosted by Tanya Memme. Discover real-life stories from mentors, leaders, experts, and everyday people who devote their lives to helping others succeed. Every episode takes you on a unique journey, an emotional experience, and tells a story never to be forgotten. Tune in to Life Masters with Tanya Memme and start fast-tracking your journey to success today.
Welcome back to another episode of Life Masters. Today is a very, very special episode for many, many reasons. I have a very good friend of mine, Jen Principe, here with me. She's incredible. We're going to talk all about her today. But I also want to get in and mention there that today I am at the Studio Place Studios. And this is a very special place. This is the first episode of Life Masters that I've had in studio. They're based in Los Angeles and they're absolutely incredible here. And hey, they rent out the studios for anyone else out there that wants to have their podcast here too, just so you know. But anyways, we're going to get on with Life Masters. And Jen, thanks for coming here today.
Tanya, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to get to know you a little better and to share my story and to de-virginize this space.
That's a good way to put it. Why not, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah. We have mutual friends. We've known each other for a little while. But you know, what I love most about you is that like you're a fashion stylist, of course, but you're known as a soul stylist and you style with soul. And you also have, your main reason for doing this is you have a purpose to change lives through clothing. So I just want to start off with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I do. I wasn't always considered myself a soul stylist. When I first got into the business, I was just a fashion stylist.
Yeah, and you put soul into it.
Yeah, but I think it's more than just putting soul into it. It's really listening to my soul's calling. And that's why I called myself a soul stylist, because once I started doing the work and watching the transformations and birthing my nonprofit, which we'll get into, and really diving deeper into the meaning and the messages behind clothing and how they impact our lives, that's when I realized that I have been put here to not just do a job. This is my assignment in life. And so that's why I called myself a soul stylist with a soul purpose, and that's to transform lives from the outside in.
I love this. And then also you launched your book, so you're an author as well. And that was about a year ago or 2 years ago?
No, less than that. I launched it 6 months ago.
No way. Yeah. I was invited to your book launch party.
Yes.
It seems like it was so long ago.
I know.
I know. It was 2 years ago.
No, it was just it took me 2 years to write the book. And I will say that I channeled the book. I didn't write the book. I think this was, again, my purpose. I needed to get my story out there. And I was able to intertwine my own life and what I've been through in my own life along with fashion, which was really unexpected, and sort of birthed that into what I call a common thread. And so, yeah, my debut book came out 6 months ago, and it's just been an amazing experience. Hard too, though. Putting out a book is really scary.
Yeah, I know. I'm still working on mine. It's been 5 years now.
Yeah, that's okay. Listen, it happens when it happens. Yeah, it happens when it happens, you know.
Yeah. What do you mean that you channeled your book?
Well, I strongly believe that God channeled the book through me. And I know that because I'm the least likely person to have written a book. If you dive into my story and you read my book, you will learn that my journey has been a very difficult one. I've taken a lot of different, I've pivoted in a lot of different directions. I've been arrested. Like the least likely person, I think, to channel a book. And once I started recognizing the common threads in my own life, which is why I titled it A Common Thread. Once I opened the floodgates, it poured out of me. And there were times I woke up in the middle of the night, and I'm a solid sleeper, Tanya. Like nothing wakes me up. And I would wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, go downstairs and write for 6 hours straight, and it just poured out of me.
So you would just get this urge to just, okay, I got to go write right now.
I just knew that, along with my job, my assignment, that this was another piece of the proverbial runway gown, that piece that I needed to put into my life that is going to inspire people to look inward, not only just at their wardrobe, but really a deeper meaning behind, what is your purpose? What is your soul calling? What is a soul whispering?
I mean, it's amazing that you've had this whole, and I do know a little bit about your life because we've talked about it before, but yes, I mean, I want everybody else to know too, like how this all started for you, and I do want to talk about this. Like, when did this when was your rock bottom? Because on Life Masters, we talk about, rock bottom and how you got there. And so what would you say, like paint a picture of the day when you were literally in your rock bottom and then sort of how you got yourself out of it?
Wow, God, that's a great question. I think I hit rock bottom as a young child, and then again, I think as an adult. But as a young child, I grew up in a very abusive, alcoholic home, and I used clothes to protect, like a coat of armor. I used to go to the Jewish Federation with my grandmother, and we would like rummage through, she would work there and I would rummage through things and just play dress up because like a child playing dress up, they adopt the characteristics of those said piece of clothing. So I would do that and pretend to be anybody but me. And then as a teenager, I used clothes to define me. I got very attached to labels and things, and I mean, people can relate to that today with social media. It's insane.
Yeah. People are very much defined by their clothing.
They really, really are. And then as an adult, I used clothes to heal myself and others. But I think my rock bottom was, I've had so many, and we're going to get to my...
I have too, so I'm right there with you.
We're going to get to my nonprofit, but I think, I named my nonprofit The Phoenix Effect because I think we all dive into the fire over and over again in our lives. We hit rock bottom and then we rebirth if we're willing to. And so I've had many, but I think right when I wrote the book was like that time when I knew I have more purpose and meaning in my life, and I need to, again, dive into the fire and put myself out there and step into my true self of why am I here? And I know exactly why I'm here now. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, are you allowed to a little bit talk about how, like, why you were in your rock bottom and what your childhood was like?
Yeah, I can talk about anything. That's the purpose of putting.
Book, so yeah.
It's the purpose of putting the book out there. And the hardest part about putting my book out there is because it was very vulnerable, very real. I came from, my grandfather was the chief Orthodox rabbi of Los Angeles for 53 years. So I came from a very religious black hat family. And my mother left when I was 6 months old. And the woman who came and stepped in to she was a housekeeper and pregnant at the time. And she raised me and I became very attached to her. And my father had an affair with her, which we had to hide from my religious family. And within that, she discovered alcohol and drugs, and I became the only person in the family that was physically and verbally abused. And so, but it was typical abuse. It was this love-hate. I was very attached to her. So she would act out when she would drink, and then she would pour love and affection, back into my life. And so it was just this really difficult, and I had to hide it from my Orthodox family because if they knew, they would kick her out, and I didn't want to lose her. So it was, it was really difficult. My teenage years were really, really, really hard. And I think, you have a daughter.
Oh, yeah.
And how close are you guys? I mean, I look at you and I'm like, oh, this is the best. Yeah. But, a young girl not having a mother is really difficult.
I can't imagine. My daughter's so sensitive. I mean, everything I do, everything I say affects her. So I can't imagine you as a 10 or 11-year-old girl going through that. That's really tough.
Yeah, it was very difficult. But I mean, I wouldn't change a thing, Tanya. I wouldn't change a thing. It makes me who I am today. And I realize that everything that has happened in my life has given me wisdom that I'm able to pass on to other people, to give them the courage to go through really hard things and to know that trauma is not a destination. It's, it's part of our journey, and we have a responsibility, if we have the courage, to share that with people so that we can inspire people to know that, like, we can get through hard things. We can do this.
Yeah. And as a teenager, what was it like? I mean, you said that you carried this through, and that's when...
Oh, I think that was my low. That was my low. Yeah. I remember going to my girlfriends' houses and seeing the connection between the mother-daughter and going into the bathroom and crying all the time. Even just getting my school supplies as a kid, I had to take the bus alone, and I was never prepared for school. It was like they would give you this list, I didn't know what to get, and I would always show up unprepared, and I fell behind in school because of it. And so, and that's when I started as a teenager getting into trouble and, ditching school and trying drugs and stealing, getting caught shoplifting, and I mean,
and the time you were living with your mom, or you were living with?
No, my mom left when I was 6 months old. So my father raised me and my 3 brothers, 2 biological, and then my younger brother, who my father took in, and he's my brother. I don't think of him any less than a brother, even though we're not blood related, because it's he's my brother.
Yeah.
So I have 3 brothers. So predominantly males my whole life. And my mom sort of came in and out. I actually have a relationship with my mother today. There's a great chapter in my book. It's the last chapter of my book about my how my mom and I. So my book basically they're inspirational stories that have happened throughout my life that all have a common thread of either faith or fashion. And it's how the universe, my soul, God, I like to call it God, spoke to and through me. And it's these serendipitous events that have happened throughout my life. And the very last chapter, I wasn't going to write about my mother because we've had a really difficult time reconnecting. I held a lot of resentment towards her. I blamed her for everything. And until I did the work and I went through it, and I held my own child when he was 6 months old. I remember this moment so vividly. I was holding him. I was in the rocking chair. It was like 3 a.m. I was nursing him, and I looked down, and all of a sudden I realized my mom is sick. Because you cannot leave a child unless you are spiritually or physically sick. Yeah. And that's when something opened up. And then I did a lot of work. So today my mom and I have a relationship. The craziest thing about it, and for those of you who are going to read my book, A Common Thread, the craziest thing about this is that my mom and I were connected through clothing. My mom got a job for a men's shirt line called Eton of Sweden, which is one of the brands that I still sell today to men, and asked me to be a model. And I modeled, and I had to go to Vegas with her, and I had to room with her. And we went into the room together, and I was really nervous. I had never been away with my mom. It was just awkward. And she pulled out this little...
That must have been... I can't even believe that.
It was so crazy.
Awkward. Oh my God.
And she pulled out this little Parisian doll, and she said, "I've been saving this for you." And she said, I named her Amy, and Ami in French means friend, and could we just start out by being friends? And that was sort of the door that opened. But I ended up calling her after I wrote the book, or as I was writing the book, and I said, "Hey, what did my grandfathers do?" Because I had no idea. And she goes, "Oh, I never told you this. Your grandfather worked for Kaplan and Elias in the fashion department, and your great-grandfather started a line of clothing called Copycat, which is little girls' dresses." And
wait, I think I know that line.
Well, American Doll is that now.
Okay, because I was like, I know I've seen
American Doll.
Yeah.
So fashion has been in my blood. So again, it's just another.
You didn't know that.
Had no idea. And that's the closing sort of chapter in my book. But
so you were raised in this, and you had a really, really, really rough childhood. And what was that? Because usually, everybody that I've interviewed on Life Masters has that one day, that one moment, where there was either something that happened, someone said something, or someone did something, or there was that opportunity that they took advantage of where everything started to shift or change. Do you recall that one moment?
Not one in particular. There was one time I know that propelled me forward into writing the book, and it's in my book. There's a story about it where I met a monk. My housekeeper, not the housekeeper that raised me, but we had another housekeeper that came and lived in my home, and my father had an affair with her as well.
Oh my gosh!
And it's all in the book,
and
you guys.
How do you get over all of this?
It's all in the book.
Wow.
But
okay.
anyway, she ended up stealing from me, and I found all of my clothes, and so I have pasthanthrophobia, fear of trusting people. And I was in my husband and I renewed our vows, and we were away, and I got these beautiful necklaces made for my husband and my 2 sons. We did like a spiritual ceremony, and I was convinced that if they didn't hide them, they'd be stolen. Because that's what happened to me my whole life. Things were always stolen from me.
Totally
and I met a monk, and just happened to meet this monk who was making a mandala. It's all in the book. It's so interesting. But anyway, at the end, I was really fascinated with his wardrobe, his kashaya robes, and the simplicity of his life. And we ended up having this conversation, and I said to him that I have a fear of putting out my book, that somebody's going to steal it from me, steal my concepts, that somebody's going to steal my ideas, that somebody's going to that was a real fear of mine. And he talked me through it, and he basically taught me about, being attached to the outcome of things, and that we need to trust and let go. And that's when I literally watched the mandala. They destroy the mandala at the end, and these bits of pieces sort of, flew away, and I just imagined my fear sort of floating away. And that night you say pen to paper, but nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, I do sometimes, but
I started typing away, and that's, I think, the one pivotal moment in my life when I propelled forward and just went, you know what, this is something I have to do.
Now, when you say that you did the work, and that was sort of, because I feel like that's sort of when the work started, because you had a realization, massive, I mean, before that, but massive realization at that moment. So and I do want to get onto your nonprofit sometime to talk about that, which we've had conversations about before, and it's amazing.
Thank you.
But what's some of the work that you did, just so we can share about, for people that are in their rock bottom, what are some things that you did to get out of it?
A lot of prayer. I think that faith, practice with prayer is very powerful. And so I did a lot of prayer, even from a child. I always say I've been using the F word since as far back as I can remember. Not that F word, faith. Yes. Falling to my knees and praying. So prayer has always been in my life. And I've done a lot of therapy. I did this thing called the Hoffman, I did the Hoffman. I've done a lot of different modalities to try to heal. I don't know. I think, coming from 10 generations of rabbis who literally dissect the Bible, I think it's in my blood of wanting to just grow. And so anything and everything that I can learn. Wardrobe has taught me. I've learned so many valuable lessons and virtues of life through these unique stories that have a common thread of wardrobe in them. It's crazy. You'd think something so material wouldn't have this depth to it, but I do believe that there is space in the spiritual realm for the material world too. And that's really why I'm here. I want to teach people the balance of the two.
You really do have that balance. I mean, you really do. I follow you on social media too, and I just love all your social media posts and everything. You're not only dressed to the nines, but you're also very spiritual, and you're very grounded, and it's really beautiful to see.
Oh, thanks,
You're
Tanya.
not all about
Thank you.
what's on the outside.
Thank you. And I've been judged
I know.
my entire life. And my entire life. I'm sure you have too, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But they're always by people that don't really know who we are. They don't know us. They're not, in our lives. It's easy to judge people that aren't on camera and in the public eye. But
well, listen, if there's two axioms that ring true, it's that we rarely know what goes on behind closed doors or what somebody has been through in their lives. We just don't know. Yeah, we just don't know. And then we get to know somebody and we're like, wow, I had no idea. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I judged you. Right?
Right. We all do it sometimes. But it's very interesting. And I do want to talk about your nonprofit because it just warms my heart.
Mine too.
It's so amazing what
mine
you
too.
do.
Mine too. Thank you.
So you curate photo shoots with people that are either in a very physically I guess, in a situation where they have some kind of an illness, but anything, or they've just hit their rock bottom, and it completely transforms their lives.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. And I know you have a really wonderful story that you told me about at the women's event.
So my nonprofit was another, I think, pivotal event when I was at rock bottom, and I have two sons that I love my boys, but I knew I was going to have boys. I just knew it, right? And so my boys were getting older, and I was afraid that they were going to leave, and we just weren't going to be as close, because you always hear like the daughters stay close to their mothers and then the boys move away from home and leave their moms. So I was out on a run one day, which is where I need to be a lot of the time, is out in nature. That's where I started to get channeled. And so I was out on a run, and I was going down this sort of pity party of my boys are going to leave and I'm going to be lonely. And all of a sudden it hit me, and it was like, stop. What can you do for somebody else? Because the way out of self is into service. Mm-hmm. And that has served me so well, because I can really go down that rabbit hole of like, I'm not good enough. You know the drill.
Totally know, yeah.
You know the drill.
It's tough. We're so hard on ourselves.
We are hard on ourselves. So I started going down this, rabbit hole, and I got this message, and I like to call the message a God shot. And if you're listening and you don't like the word God, you don't have to use that word. God is an acronym for good orderly direction. That's the way I look at it. Good order. Yeah. So I got this message from the universe, from my soul, whatever it was, and it was like, what can you do for somebody else? And I remembered about this little girl in my neighborhood who was struggling with cancer at the time, and a friend of mine was a singer, and she would go sing to her. So I thought, what if one of the things I love to do is curate photo shoots. because I get to visualize the entire, from the flowers to the backgrounds, it put the whole picture together. And I thought, what if I do a photo shoot and give this little girl a day of respite to just stop being...
Were you a photographer? Did you know how to use a camera?
No, so my husband's a photographer, so I dragged him in, which has been such a beautiful experience for my whole family, because now as a family, we all participate in this. But anyway, I called this girl and I said, how well do you know this little girl? She said, I don't know her well, but I know her parents. I'm going to send you their phone number. I love your idea, Jen. Give them a call. So I picked up the phone and I called and I said, hi, Jeff. I didn't have his last name. I said, my name is Jen. I live in Westlake. I got your name from so-and-so. And I was wondering, I'm a stylist, no fee involved. I would just love to give back this gift that I've been given. And could I give your daughter just a day to feel pampered and like a princess and give her a little photo shoot? And he goes, is this Jen Principe? And I said, yeah. And he said, this is Jeff, Jeremy's first baseball coach, my son's first baseball coach. And I got chills. And that's what I call God shot, right? Like serendipity, like that when you're in service, doors just
they really do.
And things just flow.
When you know that you're going the right direction.
Yeah, so I did this. So she was my first. She was 6 at the time. And what I did was just this photo shoot. We changed her outfit. I made her look, absolutely perfect and styled. And then I created a coffee table, like a memorial book, to give to the parents. And it was when the parents opened up the book and they started crying that I realized, wow. This is really powerful for the families. And then it grew. It used to be called Pretty in Pink. And because I was pretty in pink as a kid, right? And then it grew, and it was, I would get phone calls, and I don't have cancer, but I have cerebral palsy. Does that count? Or I got your name from so-and-so and I'm suffering from this, or I was in a car accident, And then I started doing adults, and that's when I realized that when you go through illness and trauma, that you lose parts of your identity during that process. The last thing you want to do is do your hair, do your makeup, you just don't want to do that. There's also a beauty in it that you get down to really your core, and you're so thankful for just being alive that you don't want to be thinking about material. But like I said, there is a space in transformation, and I know this just working with my clients, the self-esteem that my clients, whether you're a business mogul or you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter where you are on the ladder, that transformation, that mindset is really big. And so
it's everything. Like the mindset is everything. Completely.
It's everything. And so I changed the name to the Phoenix Effect. Because the metaphorical phoenix dives into the ashes and is birthed anew. And I really believe that we are all a part of the Phoenix journey. And I've done it so many times in my own life where I have to take that risk and dive in. Some people it's divorce or leaving a job or
all kinds of stuff.
Starting over, whatever it is, illness. And then we all sort of have a responsibility to use our gifts and our talents to help that phoenix rise, just being a good listener, or, you doing these interviews and sharing people's stories so that they can get out there and educate other people or be inspired, right? It's really all about that. So it's called the Phoenix Effect, and it's on my website.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can go to your website to learn more about it.
Yeah, my website is jpstyles.com. And it's under the Phoenix Effects, and you can see these transformations are remarkable. And so that's the other reason I'm here. I feel like, between my book and my story and my nonprofit, and then just general styling is so much fun. I mean, I love what I do.
Yeah, and you've been on television, on all kinds of different shows on TV. I know you're on Hallmark Channel, you're on Inside Edition, you're on all kinds of stuff, and then you do the segments at KTLA.
KTLA, I'm going to be on Good Day LA in about a week and a half.
Nice.
Yeah, so that'll
fantastic.
be fun. Yeah, the power of personal presentation. And it's like I always say, don't judge a book by its cover, and we should really get a more holistic view of a person before we judge, but that's just not realistic, because the truth of the matter is we're visual and we judge, very quickly. Yeah. So decorating the cover of your own book is, I think, really, really important, and can open up a lot of opportunities for you to meet people. And
also, like, what you do is so powerful, especially for people that have gone through a divorce and they don't know, like, they need to reinvent themselves, or they need to start a new job, or they need this or that. But redoing your wardrobe and presenting yourself to the world is one of the most powerful
so
things
powerful.
or changes that you can make for somebody.
It is. It is. I mean, I hear most of the time when people don't like fashion, it's because they don't know how to do it. Because I know anything that I don't know how to do, I tend not to like, right? But once I go in and I start working with somebody, and it's funny that you say that because I get a lot of calls from newly divorced couples, men and women who know, because we know subconsciously that if we feel good about what we're wearing, we present ourselves in a different way. We walk in a little taller, we feel more confident. We know that. We know that. Kids, do role play at a very young age, and it's brilliant because what they're doing is they're ascribing to the meaning behind clothes. You think about, I love this, I always talk about, what's her name? Sex and the City, right? You have
Sarah Jessica Parker?
No, you have four different
Okay.
characters depicting that are wearing different types of clothing, and without even the use of verbal communication, you look at them and you automatically know, oh, okay, I kind of get their vibe, right? You've got sexy Samantha, you've got preppy Charlotte, you've got fashionista Carrie, and then Miranda. You've got all these different characters. So clothes can tell so much about us without the use of verbal communication.
That is very true.
It's so true. And I think what we put on our bodies can absolutely shift our mindset. I know when I don't feel good about something that I'm wearing, and I don't always feel good, and I make fashion faux pas, I walk into the room feeling, a little less than.
I would love to wear one of your fashion faux pas, because your fashion faux pas would be like my, best day fashion wise.
I should do a post of my fashion faux pas so people see, no, she was really stretching there. But it's really, that's not a tattoo. And that's a motto that I have. Clothing is not a tattoo. It is not permanent. It's like the one area in our lives where we have control. We don't have control over so many things. So it's, it should be fun. It could be powerful.
All of those things. It should
all
be.
of those things. Yeah. All of those.
What do you
things.
say to people though that feel like they can't afford it?
Oh, I don't think you need to spend a fortune to look great.
Yeah,
I really don't. I do my TJ Maxx runs. I love it. People.
So you work with all kinds of clients.
All kinds of clients. Yeah. Now, here's one of the really cool things that I just developed that's in my book. I have the first scannable QR code that leads the reader to a platform that is absolutely free on how to find your fashion vibe, and it builds your wardrobe from the ground up. So it covers body types, it covers color theory, it covers everything you can think of from accessories.
And you created this, didn't you?
I created it, and there's clickable links on where you can purchase things at a high price point and at a low price point. So for people that don't know how, it's one, either find a really good salesperson that you trust, and educate yourself. I talk about how to style stock on Instagram, how to really look at a photo and see if this particular style works for you. Because sometimes I'll see things and I'll be like, oh my God, I love that. But you have to wear your hair down the middle, slicked back. Yeah. I never do that. So that's not going to look good on me. So it's how do you dissect a photo and really find a style that resonates with you and fits in your lifestyle. So it's called the Wardrobe Wisdom Club.
Okay, but
and
you
it's
have to
free.
get her book first.
Yeah. No, you don't. You can go onto my website, jpstyles.com, and you can join for free.
But it is at the back of your book too, you said, right?
It's all throughout my book.
It's all throughout your book.
It's all throughout my book. Yeah, it's very... It's one of the things I really wanted to do in my life, is to provide a platform for people that can't afford the luxury of a personal stylist, because it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
It can be. I know.
But you don't have to spend a fortune. There's certain areas that I think you should spend a little bit more because they're classics and they'll last you a longer time, like outerwear, bags, and shoes. But I'm a Zara fanatic. And my TJ Maxx runs are super fun, and you don't.
Maybe we'll have to go on a TJ Maxx run. I'd love that.
Oh my God, we should do that.
Let's do that. I would love that. We'll record it all.
Yeah.
So for the people out there that are, they're kind of going through a really tough time, I know that you have completely found your purpose, which is unbelievably amazing. But a lot of people they're struggling. I mean, to have purpose in life is one of the biggest gifts that you could ever experience and have. So what would you say to some people that are really struggling out there that don't know what their purpose is?
Tanya, is such a good question. And I get people coming out to me all the time and they're like, I really need something to do. I feel like I have no purpose.
Yeah.
My first thing is your purpose doesn't have to be huge. And I think people think like, oh my God, I have to do something that is so big, and they don't. I think if you are an amazing listener, that is one way to be of service to somebody, is just to be somebody who can listen. My answer is always to be of service. If you can find something that you're good at, like what you're doing right now, and be of service and shine light on somebody else and their journey, you're making a difference. It doesn't matter how many, it just matters the impact that you could have just on one person. So it's really, I think, finding what you love and being of service to others, and you will find your purpose. I really, really believe that.
It kind of leads you to, like, once you start down that road of service, it does always open up doors to then finding your true purpose. It does for so many people that I've interviewed.
I do think that. I also think we need to quiet our minds a bit, because we're so like, on the phone and, distracted, and, rarely do we know our own unique design until we're able to recognize the common threads, which is why I named it a common thread. And when you're able to see these messages that are coming at you, and you're able to see those and go, why does this keep happening to me? What's the message I'm trying to get through this? And we quiet our minds, then it can unfold. And that's at least what it did for me through wardrobe.
Incredible.
Through wardrobe.
So I can imagine you help your clients from the inside out too.
I do.
It's not just about clothing, putting the right clothes together.
No, it's not.
So much more that they get when they work with you.
Well, I hope so.
And I know that you put full on, you put your whole heart into it.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I really do love what I do. I really do love what I do. I've had incredible clients. I've learned so much. It's an intimate space to have somebody come into your wardrobe. Really, I've had people just open up and break down and cry, and then I'm able to just, pass on some of the wardrobe wisdom I've learned along the way.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'm about halfway through your book right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep on reading the second half.
Thank you.
And it is amazing. I've been brought to tears during parts of it. It's a journey that you take.
It is a journey.
The reader on, and I really like it a lot.
And I've pivoted in so many different directions. And that's the other thing, is like, if you haven't found your purpose and you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, it's fine. It's totally fine. I didn't find my purpose until probably the Phoenix Effect, and it's still, my purpose is still unfolding. My book was part of my purpose.
Yeah, it really was.
We don't just have one.
Yeah.
My purpose was to be a mother. That was my purpose for a while. Like, that was my soul. That was where all my energy went.
Yeah.
And to be a wife and to do the work, and it's going through all these different
avenues,
streets,
and noticing them when they're there, and not putting too much pressure on yourself along the way.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think, God, we put so much pressure on ourselves.
Oh my gosh, yes. But I love everything that you're doing. Keep on going, please.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yes.
Thanks I really appreciate you having me, and just, letting me channel, because it's not about me, and and I have to remember that too. I have to really do a lot of prayer on that I can't let my ego get in the way. I have to let what my purpose is here really speak and shine through, because it's not about me. It's not.
Well, I think you do. You can tell in your book. You can tell in the way that you work with your clients, and that's why I had you here on the show, because I knew that was all
I love that.
A part
Thank
of
you.
you. So thank you for your time, for coming on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank
Let us know everywhere and anywhere we can see you.
There's one thing I want to talk about, and this is Instagram. And I am dying to be able to talk about staying small because of your Instagram. I have run up against this so many times, which is why I'm so thankful you had me here, because I did not go into Instagram for a long time because I thought it was shallow, and I didn't realize it's really a business. Now I have something I really need to get out into the world, and I'm being turned down a lot because my Instagram is not big enough.
Oh, I know that feeling.
So my Instagram is Jen Principe Styles. Help me spread the message. But it is hard, and there are times when I'm like, forget it. I'm shutting this whole thing down, but I am not shutting it down.
No, it's interesting.
Keep going.
I have a resume this long.
Yes, you do.
I've been on television for this many years.
Have.
But none of that matters unless you have over 1 million followers on Instagram.
It matters.
So I'm still working.
You matter.
It's getting there.
You matter, Tanya.
Yes, I do
You've
matter
done a lot
very
of
much.
stuff.
It's not
You
all about the
matter.
Instagram.
Right.
But it is something. It's
It
interesting.
is.
But yeah, so thank you so much for coming on the show. And please follow Jen on Instagram. Jen Principe Styles.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye, everyone.
You have just listened to another inspiring episode of Life Masters with Tanya Memme. To access the show notes for this episode or to listen to more shows, simply visit www.tanyamemme.com. Master your own life and be inspired to help others to succeed. Join us again next time here on Life Masters.